So you want to increase the amount of credit lines you have and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Start the relationship with a bank that you already have a relationship with. So let's say
Mm,
Chase. If you have
yeah.
Chase, think about considering applying for a Chase credit card first.
Right.
If it's Capital One, if you have a bank account, or Bank of America,
Yeah.
use those banks. Wells Fargo, apply there first. You might get the better deal because you have a relationship with them. So I always
Right.
tell people do that first. Then see which cards.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Listen, super excited yet again to bring back this gentleman to the show. Okay. Listen, not only was he highly requested, but I got so many compliments about not only his delivery, but just the episode in general. Okay. But either way, again, he doesn't have a lot of time. He's going to be most definitely dropping some gems. So get your notepads out, get ready for the information that's about to come today. So, of course, we are super excited to bring in none other than Mr. Joe Barreto. Joe, are you with us, sir?
How you doing, Calvin? Good morning. How's everybody?
All right. Awesome. Awesome. Everyone's doing great, man. Listen, we're super excited to have you back on, man. I know it's been a little while, but how are things been going for you so far?
It's been good. I want to thank first and foremost. I want to thank you and your subscribers. They've been so wonderful with me, so receptive. I'm so grateful to them. The questions they ask, they follow.
Yeah.
You bless me lovely, so I can't complain. Everything is good.
Awesome, man. Awesome, awesome. Well, listen, I do know that there's some things that I most definitely wanted to pick up on for sure, that you was just talking about recently, on your channel. And I said, you know what? A lot of people that watch my channel, of course, I think they can most definitely learn and benefit from this as well. Okay. But first things first, obviously, you've had credit cards for some time now, and you've dealt with some stuff that's been trash. You've dealt with some credit cards that you're like, okay, I'm gonna hang on to these. So from your own personal experience, if you could tell us what's your best cards from worst to first.
Okay, that's a great question. I'm gonna give you top 10 worst to first. Okay,
Awesome.
and one bullet point for each. So the worst one, Disney Visa card. I opened it up in 2005 because I was taking my kid to Disney. Bro, they only give you 1 point for every dollar in Disney bucks. What
Mm,
could you do with 1 point for dollar in Disney bucks? Not much. So that is the worst.
yeah.
I haven't used that card in about 15 years. The second card is going to surprise some people. It's a great starter card for some people and for students, but that's the Apple card. And the reason I have it so low, they have such a pretty titanium metal card,
Mhm.
but they only give you 1 point when you use it. They want you to
Mm,
use the tap to pay to get a better multiplier, which to me makes no sense. What's the
right.
point of having and bragging about a titanium card when you can't use it or flex it, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
to me, that's just, horrible on their part that they did that. The
Yeah.
next one, and not that this is a bad card, but just ranking them. It's an airline card, JetBlue.
Okay.
And the JetBlue card I got because my son was traveling to the University of Pittsburgh back and forth. So I had two airline cards, JetBlue, and the one right after that is the United card.
Real quick, if you haven't done so already, be sure to download our free ebook. You can actually scan this QR code or you can click the link in the description below. Now back to the video.
Okay.
Not that they're bad cards, but I only use them when I'm going to fly.
Mm,
So for everyday purposes, you really can't, there's not much you could do with them, right?
yeah.
Next is a hotel card. And I actually have two side by side, and that's the World of Hyatt credit card from Chase and the Hilton Surpass from Amex. They're great hotel cards. I just got back from New Orleans with the creator meetup,
Mm,
Labor Day weekend. I
that's
stayed
right.
5 nights at the Hyatt for free.
Wow. Wow. And what card again was that
The
allowed you to
World of Hyatt
the world of Hyatt?
from
Wow.
Chase, and it was 12,000 points a night.
Mm,
So the average cost of the room was about $230 because it was Labor Day weekend, and it's
yeah.
right on the corner of the Bourbon Street.
Yeah.
So you pay for the place where you're staying.
Yeah.
I only paid 1,200, so I got it for half.
Mm,
So at 1 cent per point, you're looking at $120 that I would have paid as opposed to 230.
yeah.
So
Okay.
I got a great deal with that. And
Okay.
then the Hilton Surpass, the reason I like it is you pay 150 for the card a year,
Okay.
but they give you 4 opportunities to get a $50 Hilton gift card every quarter.
Mm,
So you're
wow.
getting $200 worth of gift cards that you could use to pay dinners at Hilton, stay at a Hilton. So it actually supersedes what you're paying out a year in fees.
Okay.
So I have that one there.
Wow.
Next
Okay.
is the sleeper card that I got recently, and it's my first card ever from Wells Fargo, and that's the no annual fee Wells Fargo autograph. Three
Okay.
times multiplier on almost everything from dining to travel
Mm.
to streaming services. And they give you high credit limits to start.
Wow.
So they started me off with $20,000
Out the gate.
out the gate. And that was 5 minutes after
Yeah.
I signed up and got the City Strata Premier. I ordered
Okay.
both cards on the same day.
Yeah.
So the City Strata Premier is next. That's a $95 annual fee, but it's the most powerful card that Citibank has right now. 3 times multipliers on everything,
Yeah.
including EV charging and gas.
Mm.
And they also give you a lot of travel protections, which they were missing before. So
Okay.
Citi came in hot with this
Yeah.
card. Next is one that people love to hate. The Chase Sapphire Preferred, which is the original CSP, because now they call the CSP the City Strata
That's
Premier
right.
as well.
That's right.
But the Sapphire Preferred, people love to hate on it because they say, oh, you only get 3 times really on dining.
Yeah.
Because for shopping, grocery shopping, you have to do it online. But without that card, you can't get your points as cash back 1 cent per point.
Mm.
So, or you can't use the portal either to get it at 1.5 if you're going to travel. That's the bridge. That card is really the bridge that the Freedom Flex, the Freedom Unlimited, if you have those cashback cards, they can now then become points.
Yeah.
But you need that card, the Sapphire Preferred.
Yeah.
So it's a necessary card. I don't care what anybody says. You
Yeah.
have Chase, you need that card to maximize the value from Chase, right?
Wow.
The second to the top
Hey, we're almost there.
the Amex Green.
Okay. Why is
Reason
that?
is, okay, so I cut up the gold in February. The gold is $325 now. They're giving you a Dunkin' Donuts credit. They're giving you a Resi credit. It's the foodie card.
Mm.
But you can't use it at Walmart. You can't use it at Costco or Target.
Really?
You're not going to get the multiplier for it.
Yeah.
They're going to give you 1 cent per point. Not
Right.
worth it, right? So the green gives you 3 times on dining out and broad travel.
Yeah.
Ferries, tolls, parking, trains,
Yeah.
buses, you name it, Ubers.
Mm.
So it's the more of a travel card. Plus, you get 3 times on flights as well.
Okay.
And anything having to do with travel, Verbo. So that's why I have it in at number 2. It actually is the most powerful card for points for Amex. And if you team it up with my number 1 card, which is the American Express Platinum card.
Wow. Yeah.
Here's the only reason why. Not that it's a flex card or anything like that.
Okay.
But I went, like I told you, to New Orleans. When the airport was crowded on Labor Day,
Yeah.
I was in the lounge. I didn't have to deal with the nonsense.
That's right.
You know, when you get 5 times for flights, 5 points,
Wow.
right? You get a digital $240 a year in digital entertainment credit. You get status with Hyatt, not Hyatt, with Hilton and Marriott hotels, gold status.
Mm.
Gold status with Hilton automatically gets you breakfast every single day, no matter the hotel.
Yeah.
So I'm going away now. People were staying at the Roosevelt and eating for free.
Mm.
Whereas yet my Hyatt card didn't get me free breakfast unless you
Yeah.
were globalist.
Mm.
And not for nothing, but $35 each, you get 2 of them.
Wow.
So $70 a day you're saving and putting in your pocket.
Yeah.
Times 5 is $350 that I spent more on breakfast than the guy staying at Hilton with that card.
Wow.
So that's why, to me, the Amex Platinum is still number 1, even though it's an eye-watering $695.
Mm. Yeah, that part.
Yeah, that's that part.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, listen, Joe, listen, you've obviously have had credit cards, over the years. And I know it took some time to not only rank those cards, because I'm sure you use some of them more than others,
Yes.
right? Now, for those of you who are just watching, Joe, how did you get into, if this is your first time seeing us actually interview Joe, how did you get into just credit card education in general?
So I was a guidance counselor in East Harlem for 34 years in New York.
Okay.
I had, from 9 through 12.
Yeah.
And my students, I keep in touch with them even after they graduate. So
Yeah.
my students now are in their late 40s, a lot of them.
Oh, wow.
And they always look for me because you didn't learn this in the schools in New York City, financial literacy.
That's
You
right.
didn't know about loans. You didn't know about financing a car, getting a
Yeah.
home, getting a mortgage, credit cards. How do you apply for credit? What's a good
Yeah.
deal? So when I retired, my students were still reaching out to me and like, yo, B, I got to
Wow.
do this. Yo, B, how do I get that? And
Wow.
then I was watching YouTube and I saw a lot of people in the space,
Yeah.
but they didn't look like you and they
Yeah.
didn't look like me.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, God knows
Yeah.
they weren't as old as me. I'm 57. So I said, you know what? Let me look into this. So it
Yeah.
took me a good year or so of hitting it hard, learning about the topic,
Yeah.
learning about the cards, learning about what works, what doesn't work,
Yeah.
you know, how to manage FICO scores, how to leave your utilization down. So I did it, and I do them in English and Spanish as well.
Yeah.
But I did it because I want to help them realize that credit isn't evil as people think.
Mm.
It's not.
Yeah.
You need it.
Yeah.
Actually, the better your credit, the better your life would be financially, because then
Mhm.
you'll get the better rates. You'll get the better looks on mortgages or auto loans or insurances for that
Yeah.
matter.
Wow.
So that's why I got into the space. And then in the past year or so, I became the older guy with the experience of my credit card is older than most of the people that watch this. You know, my credit
Mm.
card is from my Amex is from 1989.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. Awesome. But I wanted to ask that question because I want people to understand that this is something that you can learn. You don't have to learn everything about credit cards, right? But you can at least say, okay, you know what? This is how I can maximize and, try to find the card that's best, for my lifestyle. But, a lot of people may not see that right away. Let's say if people were new to credit,
right.
if you were to give advice to someone that's new to credit, what would you say would be the most effective way to responsibly manage multiple credit cards?
Okay, that's a great question. And actually, I'm glad that you asked me that because I actually took notes for this one
There you
because
go.
there's a
All right.
lot. All right.
Okay.
So, someone new to credit, best way to manage is to keep it simple.
Okay.
Figure out first, what your goal is.
Okay.
Is your goal cash back? Is your goal to go more on trips and travel? Is your goal to get luxury travel?
Yeah.
Instead of staying in the motel,
Right.
do you want
Yeah.
to elevate that? Right. So that's
Yeah.
first. Second, where does most of your spend lie? Is it dining out? Is it grocery stores? Is it just everyday shopping? Is it online shopping? Is it buying at big box stores? Things like that. Because then you focus your spending on the card that you're going to apply for
That's
or
right.
what you're looking to open. Because you could, I share this with you guys. I open up the cards not because I need them, but because I
Yeah.
want to use them and show people how to use them correctly for the channel.
That's right.
So when I started this journey, I had a couple of credit cards. I
Mm.
now have 26 in the
Wow.
last year and a half. But my
Wow.
my credit score is 832.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
My FICO score is 832.
Great job on that. That takes
No,
work.
thank you. It does. But I
Yeah.
have $275,000 of available credit in that one
Wow.
and a half years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
So, so what I would tell people is if you're going to start applying for credit cards or you want to increase the amount of credit lines you have and things like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
start the relationship with a bank that you already have a relationship with. So let's say
Mm.
Chase. If you have
Yeah.
Chase, think about considering applying for a Chase credit card first.
Right.
If it's Capital One, if you have a bank account, or Bank of America,
Yeah.
use those banks, Wells Fargo, apply there first. You might get the better deal because you have a relationship with them. So I always
Right.
tell people do that first. Then see which cards are better for you. You
Mm.
don't have to spend $700 or $695 for an American Express Platinum to
Mm.
elevate your travel experience. A $95 Chase Sapphire Preferred
Mhm.
or a $95 City Strata Premier
Mhm.
still gives you transfer partners, still gives you points for hotels and travel and things like that. So
Okay.
you'll be able to elevate that and earn great on those cards.
Okay.
So, and then I would tell people here's where the problem becomes. If you have more than 5 cards, how do you manage payments? How do you manage due dates? How do you manage which card is best for to use in a particular situation?
Right.
And I'm going to be honest with you, because I have 26, I'm not the spreadsheet guy. I'm not that guy that goes on the computer and puts in cells and stuff
Yeah.
like that and
Yeah.
highlights. No, I went to summer school for math back in the day in high school. For me, what I do is I use an app called Card Pointers. And Card Pointers is
Mm.
easy because it tells me when the due date is, what cards is best to use in the store. Max Rewards is another one that does that.
Yeah.
And it gives you a better idea of, if auto payment is on, things like that. Now, the difference between those two apps is Card Pointers, you put the card you have, but not your personal information.
Yeah.
So it's not
Mm.
specific to your card. It's a generalization of cards that you put in that you have. Max Rewards will constantly sync the accounts to your personal account. So it
Wow.
actually logs in on your behalf and adds the rewards on your behalf. Card
Yeah.
Pointers does it only if you're online and if you add it as an extension on your browser.
Yeah.
But what that
Wow.
does for me is it keeps me on task. I always tell people, make sure you keep things on auto payment for the
That's
only
right.
reason, if you forget, if you're on vacation, if you're sick,
Hmm.
and if you have so many cards that they're on different dates.
That's
So I
right.
tell people, try to keep the dates together. You can call and change the date
That's
of the
right.
card when you pay.
Sure can.
So I try to keep everything, honestly, on all my cards
Yeah.
from the 2nd of the month
Yeah.
to the 7th of the month.
Yeah.
After the 7th, I know there's nothing due.
Right. Exactly. Wow.
So I know where I'm at always with that. So that's what I would tell people. You don't want to overwhelm yourself and say, yo, I got this flex card. Yo, I got this. Yo, I got that. I
Yeah.
need this. No. To be honest with you, I would say you want a catch-all card, a card that you use every day, whether it's to go to the bodega, to go to the store, if you're just to have in your pocket to make sure if you need a credit card for something.
Yeah.
So a general card for that, one for travel if you're planning on traveling,
Yeah.
where if you're going to go to a lounge, if you're going to the airport, if you want to take an Uber to get credit for things like that, you should be good to go. People can get by with 2 cards, 5 the
Mm.
max.
Yeah.
When you're in this space, Sledge has 40 something.
Yeah. It's crazy. Key has like 50 something.
She has 1,000. Like, she took a binder to New Orleans. Like, I was like, really? And she manages them. I don't know. Bro,
Yeah.
I
Crazy.
was just like, ugh. But I'd be grayer than I am now. And I just colored it.
Yeah.
But the reality is just that. So
Yeah.
tell people, I want people to know not to be afraid to apply, but to be smart how they apply.
That's right.
Don't go nuts. And just because you got approved, eventually that gravy train runs out and off the tracks.
That's right.
And then what are you going to do?
That's right.
So
No, that's huge. That's huge. You said something about the store, but you called it something else.
bodega.
Oh, bodega. Got you.
So in New York, in the Bronx, in Manhattan, especially, I worked in East Harlem. So the grocery stores, there was no 7-Elevens, bro. They were all bodegas. It was, Manuel's bodega, Cintron's bodega, whatever the name was, it was that guy's store. So
yeah, I got you. I've never. Okay, I got to go to a bodega. That's what I got to do.
You know what they're known for too? Bodega cats. There was always a cat in the bodega that kept the mice out of there, and the guy had as a pet for like 20 years, bro. Seriously.
Wow. That's crazy. Listen, if you guys are watching this and you're let us know inside the comments if you guys are in the New York. Do they have bodegas in Jersey or no?
Well, technically they do. If you go to the Spanish parts like Patterson, if you go to certain parts in Hoboken and Jersey City and things like that, they'll call them here more than anything like markets, but it's still a bodega. I still say I'm going to the bodega. I'll be right back. It's like a deli. Like
there you go.
Deal,
I've never been to the deli. So that last time I see, that's the thing. A lot of times when you go to these cities, you only go to like the most popular things, Central Park and the Statue of Liberty, stuff like that. But it's like, I got to get into the area, like if I live there, you got to act like the locals. Okay.
If you go to Harlem, I kid you not.
Yeah.
And you want the sandwich that the people, as we always said, in the hood love.
That's
chopped
right.
Cheese.
Chopped cheese.
They take the ground beef. They don't even have the thing to squash the bread. They put a brick with aluminum foil and put it on the grill to keep the weight and squash the sandwich. I'm not kidding. That's how they do it.
I got to watch a video on this, man.
That is the best sandwich ever.
Listen, the hood spots always have the best food. Okay.
Heck yeah.
When I was in Memphis, we would keep things, I guess, more simple than Chicago. But in Memphis, you get like some chips. You just get like regular chips, like just regular Tostitos or something like that. You get some Tostitos cheese. You were good. You had some nachos. You were good. I came to Chicago. Then they said, well, you know what? We got they got nachos, chips, and cheese. So I'm like, okay, with meat, right? So I'm like, I never thought about that. Like adding ground beef, like trying to create a meal. And then not only that, I was thinking immediately Tostitos. Oh no, Calvin, it's Doritos, cheese, and meats. So first off, that was a game changer in high school. Okay,
Yeah, not the healthiest thing. Let's just
it
be
is
clear.
not the healthiest thing. And oh no, crazy. But listen, I most definitely got to just run down all the Chicago food spots, man. It's insane. So from corn on the corner, it's insane. It's insane. Anyway, let's get back to it. So now here's the thing. You mentioned you have well over, was that 230, 250,000 in just
Available
limits?
credit. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But it wasn't always like that. And that's what I want people to understand, that there is a journey. There's a story behind the story. And we see, who Joe is today. He's dropping the gems, he's giving the information, he's shortening your learning curve. However, it wasn't always so nice like that. Tell us about, you said you mentioned that, back in the day, it used to be, close to, was that $276,000 in debt? How did you get yourself out of that situation, just financially and then mentally enough to be where you are today?
So if there's anything anyone can take away from this conversation is this. From 2003 so not too long ago, right?
Yeah.
To 2013 on one card,
Mm,
the American Express Gold card.
mm,
That was my first premium card I opened up in 89.
yeah.
My wife was doing well. I'm doing well. It's a Friday night. I'm not
Yeah.
exaggerating, Calvin.
Yeah.
We go to the Garden State Mall. I go to the Bose store. Back then, they had the big Bose sound system theaters.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, "Oh, you know what? I heard this surround sound is great. $2,500. Here's my gold card. Bang. Oh, I want this. Bang.
Yeah.
Because I could,
Yeah.
which was stupid.
Mm,
Just because you could and
mm.
can doesn't mean you should,
Tell him,
right?
Joe. Tell him, Joe.
And $276,000 charged in 10 years. Now, if
Mm.
you ask me, what did I spend it on? The one thing I can remember was that Bose sound system because that was $2,500.
But everything
Other,
else?
bro, I have no idea.
Wow.
So what came up was my mother was getting ill, and then
Mm.
she passed away in 2014.
Wow.
And I
Yeah.
remember, we were going over the bills, and I said, I'm choking.
Mm.
I'm not even living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
I'm 2 checks behind.
Mm.
So I'm looking forward to November's money, and it's
Yeah.
September.
Wow.
And I said, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
So I went out and I found a consolidation
Mm.
company,
Yeah.
and I had to give them all my cards.
Yeah.
They called the cards for me
Yeah.
to negotiate better rates on the
Yeah.
interest.
Wow.
So the problem I had with Amex was this.
Yeah.
So Amex is a charge card, the
That's
gold,
right.
the green, and the platinum.
That's right.
But they give you this thing called pay over time, which
Mm.
is kind of like a credit card. So
Yep.
they separate the charges,
Yep.
and one charge on your pay over time is still collecting interest.
Yep.
So I had paid off what I thought everything was due when I did this consolidation.
Mm.
There was a couple of $100 on pay over time that never received the funding to get paid off.
Wow.
And then they nailed me
Yeah.
on my reports.
Yeah.
Like I was delayed, delinquent. I
Yeah.
fought hard. I couldn't win that one. So
Wow.
I had 2 dings which destroyed me. I went down to the 579 mark, I think it was, for a
Wow.
credit
Yeah.
score.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. When I got rid of all that debt, even though I knew now I was limited as to what I can do,
Yeah.
I had to be smart. I slept like a baby
Wow.
because I was not sleeping, thinking about what I owed and that I had
Mm.
no money to do it.
Yeah.
My kid was just starting high school. It was just so hard that you suffocate. And
Yeah.
I tell people, you never want to be in that situation where
Yeah.
that consumes you,
That's right. Yeah.
because it is like this depression,
Mhm.
this overwhelming sense, like the weight of the world is on your shoulders.
Yeah.
And I could have kept it quiet. I could have kept it shut.
Yeah.
But I started then telling my friends, my family. My sister was in a similar situation, so she called the same people I did. I
Yeah.
had students. I kid you not. One of my
Mm.
girls, and I call them my girls because my boys and girls are
Yeah.
like my
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
She is an accountant for Merrill Lynch.
Wow.
Mad money.
Yeah.
But when before she started, she
Yeah.
was in debt, and she
Yeah.
called the same company. And
Wow.
I just saw her at her 20th high school reunion
Wow.
back in July. She was class of '04, and she goes, "Yo, Barreto, thank God you told me about that company,
Yeah.
because look at me now. I have a house in Goshen, New York,
Wow.
2 acres of land." And
Yeah.
I'm like, she goes, "I had to go through that to learn how to appreciate
That's
this."
right. That's right.
And that's, if there's a takeaway from this conversation for
Yeah.
all of everyone watching, is don't, first of all, don't be embarrassed, because we all make mistakes.
We
Here I
all
am
do.
thinking I'm the smartest guy here,
Yeah.
whatever. I have a master's degree, but I was in debt to my neck. It was crazy, right?
Yeah.
But you learn from it.
That's right.
And then you don't want to repeat that,
Never. Yeah.
So that's why I tell people opening these credit cards now, they, the theme for a lot of YouTubers is like, oh, 30% utilization. No, 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 no.
Don't do that.
No, no, no. 10 and below,
That's
5
right.
and below, 1
Yeah.
and below.
Yeah.
Whatever you could do to keep it there, keep
Keep
it
it
there,
active. Right. Yeah.
because
Absolutely.
you could manage it. Once it passes 10%, then it becomes 11, then it becomes 20, then it
Slowly.
becomes 25, and then you're like, "Oh my God, what did I just do?
Yeah.
Why am I working? I'm working just to." My father told me one thing. When he said that in high school, his teacher told him, when you earn money working, you pay yourself first, and then you pay everything else, so that
Everybody
you know
else.
what you could spend.
That's right.
And I never understood it
That's right.
until I became my late 30s, early 40s, and I said, "Okay, Daddy, now I get what you're saying." Yeah, that's
Wow.
true,
Yeah.
because you don't want to work to just give it back in
That's right.
interest.
With
So,
interest. 1000%. And by the way, guys, that entire strategy is in one of a very popular financial book, and The Richest Man in Babylon, and it talks about a part of all you earn is yours to keep.
yep,
Paying yourself first. A lot of times we get in the habit of, oh, and we're not, by the way, we're not saying don't pay your bills. We're
no,
simply saying, hey, listen, something should go to your savings first, or your investing first, or you first, then everyone else. Make sure you get paid first. And if you're saying, well, Calvin, when I do that, there's nothing left over, that means we have an income problem. That means we need to look at where's the money going, things of that sort, and just try to see and try to stop the leak, in a sense. And that's the thing, like you said, we've all made mistakes, but that's how you learn. But it's also
100%.
too, it's not just saying, okay, here's a mistake. Joe went out and looked for some guidance. And there's a lot of, whether it's debt consolidation or strategy in general, but not only that, but you stuck with it. And then you didn't just sit in the rut. You said, you know what? I've learned from that, and look at Joe today. So,
I appreciate that. I mean,
yeah,
to be honest with you, the the problem is that it becomes easy to just get overwhelmed by it,
yeah,
right? And it was a dark place, and I
yeah,
don't want anybody that's watching right now
hmm,
to go through that,
yeah,
because it was rough.
mm,
It beats you up mentally, physically. Your health takes a hit,
yeah,
and it's not good,
yeah,
So for people that are saying, well, I can't put something aside before I pay a bill, my job in the city of New York,
hmm,
they allowed me to take 2 or 3% of my check and put it before I even saw it. So before
mm,
it hit my account, they took it out.
wow.
So it's better that way, because I don't see it. If you don't see it, now you're
You won't
basing
use it.
your life income on what that is there.
That's right.
And then when I left, I had almost $400,000 that I was able to pay off my house
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Just
without
and
even
see,
thinking.
yeah, right. Yeah,
Because you didn't see it. So if you
that's
don't
right.
see it, you don't miss it. It's like if you're on a
Yeah.
diet and the cookies aren't in your house, you ain't gonna eat the cookies,
You can't eat
right?
them.
You can't eat them. So
You're right. Man, I'm telling you, you hit, and you know what? I think this conversation is right on time, because a lot of people are going through a situation like that, or a similar situation like that. And I feel like, people just feel like, well, it's just me going through this, or there's no way out. Listen, guys, there's most definitely a way out. And it starts off by watching a video like this. having that confidence and saying, okay, I got to do something different. And we're not saying you got to do something majorly different. It's just, hey, we just got to make some tweaks, and
Yeah.
it's baby steps. I once heard a quote just recently. A lot of times we spend time just looking at the entire staircase when really it's just one step at a time. And
100%.
but see, but then there's also the other side of the coin where there are people who they're like just they're new to the United States. They're like, okay, I I know that I can get credit. I know I can build it. I have no intentions on getting debt, but I'm new to the US, or I'm just now becoming a citizen in a sense. What options do those people have? Or better question is, how can people obtain credit if they are a new resident to the United States?
I love this question. So, what I've done the past year and a half, especially here where I live in North Jersey in Hackensack, there are a lot of people new to the country from South America, Colombia, Peru, Mexico, things like that. They had credit. They had a credit history in their other country. They were professionals in another country, but when they come here, you're starting at zero, right?
Yeah.
There's a program called Nova, Nova, like the car back in the day.
Mm.
And Nova allows you to bring your credit history from your country to the US. So you're
Wow.
not starting at zero.
Yeah.
You
Start from
go
scratch. Yeah.
online, I believe it's nova.com, and you put in your information. It tracks your banking history, your financials from wherever you've lived throughout your
Yeah.
life. And then that comes over to the US, and now you're not starting at zero.
That's right.
That would be the first thing.
Mhm.
Now, not every country is a part of that program.
Mhm.
So what do you do if you're not a part of it? What I
Yeah.
tell people is the following then. You want to see if you can open up a secured card.
Mm.
Great secured card is like Discover. Discover It Secured is fantastic.
Yeah.
Now from Water Your Soil, that is his go-to. That's his foundation card,
Yeah.
right? And for good reason, because it helps you establish. So a secure card means you give them $200 or $500, you put it in first, you use it, you put it again, you use
Yeah.
it, and then when they see the pattern that you could do it, eventually they'll give you a credit card,
Yeah.
not a secured card. So that's
Mm.
another thing you can do. So Chase has one. Every bank basically has their secured version of a card.
Yeah.
The one that I tend to like the most, but you need to have somebody that really trusts you and loves you to death, is
Yeah.
an authorized user.
That's right.
So
Huge.
if you have someone in your family that's already been established in the States and you're new, if they put you on as an authorized user on their card,
Yeah.
then you're feeding off their credit history.
Yeah.
You're improving your credit score and
Right.
credit worthiness. And then eventually you'll be able to get your own card because you were on their card, and
Yeah.
you'll build a credit score. So you don't necessarily have to just do that for people new to the country. I did that for my son. They
Mm.
stole his debit card number when he was in college.
Wow.
He had the physical card on him, and they lifted the number and drained his
Mm.
account in Long Island while he was in
Wow.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, and I hadn't started in this space yet. And
Yeah.
the woman from JetBlue Credit Card said, add your son as an authorized user.
Mm.
And she goes, and he can help build his credit. And I did that. So when he graduated Pitt, he already had a 740 credit score
Insane.
before
Yeah.
having a credit score. You know what I
People
mean?
sleep
So,
on that. They still sleep on that, man.
and you don't have to be 18. You could put a kid
Yep.
on at 13 years old, and
Yep.
in some cases with certain issuers even younger,
Yep.
because
Yep.
they don't have to. You don't have to physically give your kid the card.
That's right. They don't need one.
You just need their social security number, add them to your account,
Yep.
and it builds.
Yeah.
And it builds. And I'll tell you this weird, crazy story.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, you didn't get your social security number until you applied for it. So
Wow.
not like now when you're born, you get a number. So
Well, this is only what in the 80s,
in the
right?
80s. So
Okay,
84,
gotcha.
I applied for my first
Yeah.
social security number.
Yeah.
So when I applied for that American Express card in 89
Yeah.
and I started working, my father's credit history came up because we had the same name. So it
Ah.
looked like I had a car when I was 10. a
Yeah.
Plymouth Volare station wagon. I remember like, wait, what the heck? I was like 10. How did I have this car? But what was funny was it helped my score
Yes.
without even knowing. So
Yeah.
it wasn't I
Wow.
was an authorized user. It was a mistake, but just because of our names were the same, we lived at the same address. So back then it wasn't as digitized as it was now.
Yeah.
So it was easier to have those mistakes and errors. But in the same vein, if you add your child
Yeah.
or a loved one or a relative to your card and you're doing them a favor, the only issue with the authorized user is the primary account holder is responsible.
That's right.
So you
Wow.
want to make sure the person you're giving the okay to use your credit
Yeah.
is doing right by you, and if they're going to charge, that they're going to pay you.
Wow.
That's the only caveat there.
Yeah.
You got to make sure
Exactly.
that person, and then you got to tell them, look, I'm doing you a solid.
That's right. Yeah, you
I'm
are.
giving you a credit history that you'll never get.
Yeah, that's right. That's huge
So
though. Yeah,
yeah,
but you know what though? A lot of people, like I said, they're not maximizing on that. So make sure you guys are putting those kids in early. Get it out the way. Listen, I tell people all the time, if you don't do it now, you're going to end up doing something more than that later, like co-signing or something like that. So get it out the way.
one
It doesn't cost you anything in most cases.
100. You
Yeah.
are so right about that.
For sure. So technically you're a junior then, right, Joe?
Yeah. The funny thing is, again, when things weren't digitized,
Yeah.
so technically, my name is Jose Antonio on my birth certificate.
Ah,
But my mother made it Joseph Anthony when I went to first grade in the Bronx because she said
wow.
there were too many Jose's in New York. So I kid you not. So so I predated like all this stuff. Like I didn't change my name legally. I just
Yeah.
was always known myself as Joseph Anthony, but my birth
Yeah.
certificate says Jose. So there you go.
Wow, wow. Isn't
Yeah,
that
yeah.
something?
No, no. So, but so it's just the translation, the English translation of my name.
There you go. There you go, Joe. There you go. Well, listen, thanks again, Joe, for stopping by and literally just giving the transparency. We look at where people are right now, the time that they're in right now, and we do that a lot. And we try our best not to, but we compare. But I want you guys to know that there's a person behind the person giving the advice. It wasn't always like this. And not to take anything away from the successes, but it's more so, hey, this is how I got here. A lot of times people think they skip over things, and everyone's story is a little bit different. But at the end of the day, if Joe can do it, so can you. And age doesn't play a role. One thing for sure, we're living in this digital age, and it's so helpful because you can watch someone like Joe and say, okay, you know what, that's part of my story, or I have a similar story, and I dealt with this, and here I am today. So thanks again, Joe, for stopping by the channel. Any last words that you want to leave with the audience before we wrap up today?
Calvin, I want to thank you again, your team, the service you provide to everyone. I saw someone comment the other day when you were with me live on my channel, and they said, "Thank you for bringing the knowledge and thank you for helping the people."
That's right.
And that's what you do. I don't know if people tell you enough, but I'm going to be honest with you. You provide the service that we don't get
Yeah,
necessarily in our communities, right?
that's right. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
also, as you get older, you don't always want to admit failures, right? Because you always
That's
want
right.
people to
Yeah.
have this perception.
Hmm.
I'm an open book. I tell people, all that's missing for me is to give my social security out.
Yeah.
It's just like I just want people to know, bro, I have battle scars
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it makes me who I am today,
That's
the
right.
good and the bad. So you try to learn from it. And I just want your subscribers to know if they ever need anything that I could help with, if they want to contact you first, if they have any questions, just let me know. It would be my honor and pleasure to give you that info. I thank you once again, my friend, for having me on. And I
Absolutely.
want you to come back on with me because people said
Yeah.
we had unfinished business here. So, because you were dropping bombs, I'm talking
Oh
about
man.
gems and
Yeah.
bombs. That was amazing. So, thank you,
Awesome.
my friend.
Absolutely, man. Listen, and everyone watching this, make sure you guys go ahead. Let us know in the comments how you guys felt about this episode. What do you want to see more of? What do you want to see less of? Let me know if you want us to bring back Joe. I'm sure you guys do. And again, but it's not just watching him here, guys. Of course, we get it. Trust me, we greatly appreciate Joe being available. But again, if you want to see more of Joe, slide on over to his channel. You can see him all the time, and as he's always giving his experience on these credit cards. Okay. Thanks again, Joe, for stopping by. We
Thank
greatly
you.
appreciate you, man. Have a good one.
God bless you. You too. Take care.